2025 was rough.
Yeah, bro. 25 was rough on many levels in the Twilight Zone, because it does feel like, it just feels like up is down and down is up.
Sure.
Hope is leaving the building, if you will.
All right, like that's just kind of a
little womp womp.
Yeah, well, a womp womp on it. But so let's turn the corner. What's going on out there, threaded and colored commentary family? I'm putting them all in there. This is Color Commentary, colorful conversations by colorful people about Christianity, culture, and race. I'm one of your hosts here, Markus Lloyd, and with me as always is Antwuan Malone. What's up, Mr. Antwuan?
What is up? What is up, Mr. Markus?
Hey, we here, man. This is the Christmas season, right? So we are in the
Christmas season.
The mode for some Christmas stuff. Are you a Chris? I know you love your Christmas, right? Like you start your Christmas music on your birthday.
I have. I didn't do it this year, though.
You didn't do it this year?
I know. I actually haven't really started like continual Christmas music listening.
Is this because you're a grandfather now? Is it because you age now?
I don't know what happened. I think I woke up and it was December.
So it just went too quick.
Yeah,
life got you.
It just got me. Yeah, but actually, I take that back. I have started maybe a week or two ago playing in my car. Lisa's my wife. She's getting all into the Christmassy stuff. So like, she wants to do much more. We've never had lights on the house.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
I know that she has always wanted to have lights on the house.
Y'all didn't have lights on the house? I know y'all had that big tree in your last house.
We had the big tree in the house, but we did not have lights like on the house. And she's kind of wanted, it's come up over time, but I suspect that next year we may end up with a few lights on the house, because each year is getting increasingly important to her.
Okay.
Or whatever. It's becoming a more and more of a conversation.
Would you do it yourself, or are you going to pay somebody to come out and do it?
Better than that, man. I want to support the people, man.
The people right. Make sure people working at Christmas.
The people need a few extra dollars, man. I'm like, hey, man.
Just start small. You could just get some, get those net lights and kind of throw them over your bush. You know what I mean?
I'm not interested at all in anything that you just said. I don't want to do. I don't want to go outside. I don't want. Look, I mean, I'll set up some like. No, we probably not gonna do like.
You gonna put like a black Santa out in front,
a really big
Grinch
inflatable. Yeah. No, she likes Elf.
Okay, I can see her putting that out.
So if we did inflatables, if we found something like with Elf on it, not an Elf, but the Elf.
The Elf, that's right.
The movie
but I want
Elf.
like a 20-footer. Like I don't want like a little front yard thing. I want it like blowing in the breeze.
Like to me, I want to pick 3 colors. I just want to do that. So it's gonna be green, red, and yellow, or whatever, or blue and
you got a whole
white and
color
red.
scheme you're working out.
Yeah, I like to do that. She wants the kaleidoscope. She's like, let's just throw it out.
Yeah,
like you go through some of the things, and it's just like a Star Wars thing in there in the yard.
Yeah.
And there's a Yoda, and then there's like a Donald Duck and a Frozen. And like some people,
they're doing too
it's
much
just
now.
A collection of things. So
they've been collecting it all year. They just like, this is what I've been collecting all year.
You those little drive-bys in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right?
You have the music lined up with your radio.
Yeah, and so you're driving through the thing, and inevitably there's a house that just has inflatable palooza.
That's true. We got one.
It's just all of it, and it's just for the energy. And so I don't think we will be that. But Lisa might be totally down. I feel like if I were to come home and say, babe, I got this idea. We're gonna lock it down. We're gonna do all this. It's gonna be yard. She'd be like, yes. And she would just go do it. We might have it done tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that though. So
I'm gonna give her a call. Like I didn't know it was that easy. She's been asking, like, can you talk to him about this today?
Has it? Yeah.
Because I went and did Christmas lights for the first time with my wife in maybe our entire marriage. I have a lot of a trauma associated with putting up lights in the
from
constant,
like childhood.
Yes, and the constant critique
and the berating.
Like, I can't.
Now I need you to do it this way.
This ain't right.
No, you done messed it up.
Yeah. So when we got married, she's like, "Will you help me do Christmas lights?" I was like, I just don't even know if I can do it. I got PTSD from Christmas light putting up. But this year I did it. I was trying to be good during the Thanksgiving season and calm, right? And like take the time off, because usually I'm like, my brain is always going. So I was like, I'm a sabbaticaling on this break. And I don't know if I'm not gonna say I made the mistake, because I wanted to do it. I was just like, hey, if you need any help, I'm just gonna be in here, so just let me know. And she said okay, and she went outside.
She said bet.
Yeah, and about 5 minutes later she goes, you know what, I could use your help. And it was like, okay. And I was proud of myself. We did a good job.
You probably did.
My wife is particular about the way she likes things, but I was just chill. I was like, yeah, what do you want to do? If you need me to fluff this wreath, I'll fluff this wreath. What do you want me to do? I'll go pick up. I was an ox. I just carried stuff.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I didn't actually put anything on anything. I just carried
I just
stuff.
don't want to get on the roof and do all.
Oh, we were on the roof. You've seen it. Like we get wreaths on all the windows.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like they're what do you call that? They're doorway. What's the thing when you say when it's the drug?
The gateway drug.
Gateway drug. Yeah.
What's the gateway drug?
It's not a drug, but it's like you're always gonna put lights on the bush. I feel like that's the gateway.
It is, yeah, no doubt.
That's the inch to the mile, if you will.
Yeah, the gateway is that you mentioned it at all.
Yeah.
You're gonna be on the roof pretty soon.
Lisa, I love you, baby. Don't be listening to this and hear me.
Well, look, hey, it is Christmas season. I don't know how you feel about it. I know that we get into Christmas, and obviously you're talking like churches and things like that. And I think about like Advent season, right? Everybody's kind of got their lights and their, we have we usually keep an Advent display in the midst of our table where, every week we light a light or something that goes with the Advent, the peace candle, the joy candle, things of that nature. And I'm just like, I just say I'm having a hard time with Advent this year. Just having a hard time.
Yeah.
I've had this hard time before. I remember, I don't know if it's been maybe 5-6 years ago. I remember I was working at a church and we were talking about like, let's do what the Advent series was going to be. And I remember like sitting in the meeting and like, hey, man, I feel like we need to do Advent differently. Like, I think we need a grimier Advent. You know what I mean? I feel like we need to really explore, like, for me, I was dug in on like the mission of God, which I still am. And I was like, I think we need to look at like the nativity and the scenes in the nativity. And we need to like connect the people inside the nativity scene to like things with the mission of God. It's just a grimier, like Jesus in the actual stable kind of thing. And I remember my leader, my pastor at the time, he's like, I don't think anybody really wants that kind of Christmas market.
They don't.
They don't want it. But I was just tired of I was tired of the elves. I was tired of the Santas.
Yeah,
I
remember you wrote the blog and every year we have this. Do we not have this conversation about Santa and the elves?
We do, but I was in a blog
may have it
moment.
whether we are not on the show or not.
So
I don't know.
I'm still in the 2025 was rough.
Yeah, bro. 25 was rough on many levels. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Advent is sold, and rightfully so, as a moment of hope.
Okay.
And so what people enjoy, but really I would say that the Advent is supposed to be this picture of hope. It's this idea that this baby's here, but the baby, this baby's here.
So you're also in a bad Advent mood.
Random baby, yeah. This random baby showed up. That's right. But in Advent, he's not doing anything yet, and it's going to be quite some time until he does something, right? And in this human form.
I'm going to stop you right there. Let me just.
He has done some stuff. He's entered into heaven, and like he's done something. But I'm saying like,
I just want to make sure any Theo bros listening.
Like, what do you mean he hadn't done anything yet?
The time continuum.
I know he did all those things.
He squeezed his body into an 8-pound baby with the gold diapers
in order to do something later.
All right,
not at that moment. It's not happening in that moment. So the hope that people have associated is like, he's come and help is on the way, if you will, right? Okay. Or change is on the way, or something to that effect. And so that's what. And then you add the shepherds who are super excited, so they're supposed to have shown up, right? And then you got the angels we have heard on high. They break out, and so you have this. Advent comes with all of those things, all that energy, the hope, the joy, the expectation. And I'm wondering if, man, there's so much going on in 2025 that the hope is just burned out. Like it feels really hard to be hopeful right now. And so looking at Advent, knowing that maybe that's what that is supposed to be producing in us, some sense of some hardiness, some sense of hope that's supposed to move us forward. Man, Advent isn't doing that for a lot of people.
It's not. I think the whole year. I think
says something about something else, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. I just, kind of there's so many different things that we had to deal with this year.
Yeah.
And I don't think here's what I would say is I'll say it like this. You had, constantly having to maneuver through all the hurt and the visuals of Gaza, right? Like in the midst of that. I think there's stuff around the election and the divide that constantly was kind of challenging us in the midst of all of those places. I think there's this uptick of dealing with ICE and immigration. Not just the idea of, okay, we're going to be a little more, forceful about immigration, but like the visuals of people getting pulled out of homes and schools and babies getting pepper sprayed and all these kind of things. Like it's just the killing of Charlie Kirk, right? Like and what that means just in a human sense, but then also the way like society sort of blew up about it, right? There's just,
Right.
I think these are traumatic things that we're constantly having to deal with. And I think the point that I'm thinking about, it's not that we don't have years where there's lots of trauma, but I feel like we're like stacking them. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I remember we were talking about last year, like 2024, and we're like,
100%.
oh my gosh, 24 was rough. 25 got to be better.
I know it. New
And
election.
then, and you get in, and for lots of folks, I think they felt like 25 was just really struggling too. So it's like you lose hope because you want to get at the end of the year. And you're like, okay, well, all right, this year was rough. I can look forward to the next year. But if you've gone a couple of years in a row where you look forward and the next year either is the same or worse, then you burn out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You start to feel that, I'm going to say hopelessness, or at least some version of hopeless. Maybe not full hopelessness, but hope is leaving the building, if you will. And it's interesting because again, this is an interpretation. So, there's going to be for a lot of people for whom what I'm about to say is probably not true. And I understand that. But it is potentially that what we are missing or what we're losing hope in is in humanity.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not necessarily, and maybe there's some loss of confidence in God too. But so much of what we're looking at is, let me just speak for myself. Maybe that'll be a safer thing to do.
All right.
What I feel is continual disappointment at humanity, at the fact that the situations, many of them that you just laid out, these are things that, man, you're like, I can't believe we're doing this as a human race. Like I can't, and there doesn't seem to be enough of us to right size or to stop those things. So my belief in humanity to do the right thing is waning, and people just don't seem to be wanting to do the right thing, or they seem so delusioned or blind or loyal to the wrong ideology, and producing all of this pain and difficulty that doesn't look like it's going to stop. It only looks like it's going to get worse. So there's a loss of faith in humanity that is contributing, and humanity is continuing to, like, somehow it feels like more loss of faith has happened over the last 6-10 years. Like, and it's just, humanity has shown us, man, this is not where hope is going to come from, right? And then that's an interesting way to think about Advent, right? Because it's supposed to, but we'll talk about that part later maybe, but it's just that, like, I think what's producing that lack of hope is the loss of faith in humanity, that we are continuing to see people who have, doubled down on racism or doubled down on tribalism of any sort, and a series of other things, a relishing of the worst side of themselves, a step into shamelessness, not because you're worthy in who God has made you to be, but because you ought to be able to be an a-hole and no one can tell you anything about it. You don't want anyone to say it to you. You don't want to be corrected. So you just want to be able to do bad things and have no one talk to you about it and call those bad things good things, right? All of that is what it seems is happening around us, and it feels like the Twilight Zone.
Well, man, it's here's the thing. It's so hard. Like, I'm listening to you, and I'm resonating, and then I've got that voice in the back of my head, right? That's saying, I'll say it like this. One of the things that's been really disturbing is the certainty that people have about their good.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Right? Like, there's a kind of sense of, like, the thing that I'm doing is good, the thing that you're doing is bad, and I'm certain of this. Right. And so even when I'm sitting there going, man, I'm seeing people do bad things, like, and I'm thinking about how I watch people do things that I think are bad, and they're so certain they're good. there's a loss. There's so much certainty, and we've lost the humility to even wonder about our own version of what we're seeing and how we're going forward. And I think that that's really hard, because I want to say, like, and I would love to double down on certain things that I see. I'm just like, man, that's just not the way that you treat human beings. That's just not the way you talk to people, right? That's just, or I'll even say it like this, like, that is not a productive way for humanity to function if it is to exist, collaborate, to continue on, right? It's just not an effective way to do it, and it's demonstrating that. And yet I feel like people are still certain, like, this is what it is, because we keep talking about, like, people aren't villains in their own story. They're heroes. And so whatever anybody is doing, they believe themselves to be heroic about it. And I think that in and of itself is really disturbing, because every time I see somebody do something, I go, are you kidding me? I'm going, they really believe that that's heroic, what they're doing.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought, because convictions are convictions, right?
Yeah.
So really what you're saying is people have to, well, what I hear maybe you're not saying this, but
well, I'll tell you. You could tell me what I'm saying.
No, that's not what you're saying.
Yeah. Please, Markus, explain, or Antwuan, explain. Grandpa,
well,
you are a grandfather. You probably know the better than I do. Like, you can do it.
What I heard, what it made me think about is, conviction. Like, conviction comes from convincing. Convincing comes from a level of certainty or faith, right? A belief that even if you don't have certainty, what you're doing is going to be the good thing because you have faith in your idea. In this case, in Christianity, faith in God is it. But for other things, you have faith in the concept. You're trusting the process, even if it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So conviction, you're convinced, right?
There's another C coming.
There's room for curiosity.
There it is.
Yeah. There's room for curiosity in there, but that curiosity has bounds, because the curiosity is not conviction if curiosity can push you completely out of your thing. So we can expect that people would live into that. What's tough for me though is the conviction for a lot of the things as a believer, as a pastor, as a Christian, is I'm looking at the church saying its conviction is Christ, but its actions is not Christian based. And so that's where the Twilight Zone stuff is for me in the Christian world is you're supposed to be convicted in this way, but what you're doing seems more human driven than Christo driven. And you're supposed to be the one carrying the hope. You're not actually carrying it. Where is the hope going to come from? In fact, you're seeding hopelessness through the disillusioned activity that's disconnected from the thing you say that you have conviction around.
Yeah, I think that's good. And it's a place in which I think we're continuing to struggle with is we all have these, convictions. We have these concerns that we're wrestling through. But there's the powerlessness to do anything about it.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah, and I think that's the fatigue. Is like,
well, you just watch it.
You're just
watch the house burn.
Yeah, that's it. Like you're just watching the house burn. And what's worse is like it's worse than watching like a neighborhood burn. Yeah. Right? Because every day you go, I thought it was just this one house, and you go, I could do something about this house. Let me get a hose. And then like the next day, the next house catches. You're like,
but to work on the analogy, it's a hose that you hope was water.
It turns out it was gasoline.
But it's gasoline. Like you're like, hey, oh, good, the firemen showed up. That's the Christians supposedly, and they're supposed to be putting out the fire.
Yeah, right. And
but instead of spraying water, they put in gasoline, and there's more fire.
That's right. And not only are they doing that, they're spraying the houses next door so they catch fire.
They and celebrating.
That's right. And telling you about it. Check this out.
Celebrating it as this is what ought to be happening. Yes. And you're like, what world do I live in?
Yeah.
When firemen make fires.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Like we're creating fires. We're not. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really great.
It's the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, the people who are supposed to be the protect and serve, if you will, to bring when they show up, you're supposed to get hope that things are going to get better. are making it worse. And I wonder, okay, I'm just gonna wonder. In some cases, it feels like things are being made worse intentionally so that I don't concentrate on something else. So that I just have to focus in on this fire that you've got going. But somewhere else behind me that I don't see, something else is happening. And that's actually the plan. You know what I mean? Like it's brilliant. And you're frustrated because you're like, man, why didn't I think of this? You know what I mean? Not in I want to create fires, but why didn't I recognize that this was going to happen? And even when you recognize the plan, you still are standing there in front of fires. And you're still like, man, but people are on fire. I would love to go deal with the larger issue that I think is being played out behind all this, but dang it, people are on fire. I've got to figure out a way to stop the hurt and the pain first, before I can do anything about the sort of the plan to make people hurt, so that your heart goes with them, and then you don't look, your mind doesn't come with me or come with what else is going on. That's a tough spot.
It is tough.
Was there anything particular this year that hit you hardest, or that you kind of, rocked you a little bit?
If you're listening and you've been, not really, I mean, but it is always, and you probably know what I'm about to say, because I've said it for at least 6 years, probably, if not longer than that. It is always the witness of the church.
Sure.
And how the cross's name is on so much human ridiculousness. We'll use ridiculousness as the safest word for this podcast.
Okay.
I want to say,
can we
I want to say other things.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to just say ridiculousness, and it's supposedly a word, a 4-letter word that we're not going to use, but every time we use it, it's meant to be that word.
And I mean it not as a curse, but for what it actually is.
Oh, okay.
And it is dung. It is waste.
It is ridiculousness.
It is vanity. It is the stuff. It is crap.
It is ridiculousness.
It's utterly ridiculous.
It is bull ridiculousness.
And in a serious way, the ability of the church, I'm going to say the true church in a way that, and I mean that is the most humble way as possible. I believe there is a true church, right? There is something that God is doing, and there is a collection of his people in whom he's moving. That's what my belief is. So whoever that is, whether I'm in that group or not, I hope that I am. I believe that I am. So I'm not talking about myself here, but I'm saying there is something God is doing in his people. And that work is extremely hard right now because everyone's wearing, too many people are wearing that t-shirt, doing the wrong things. And it makes the work that we have left to do here as believers significantly more difficult and confusing. And it's just going to feel like it leads to eternal significance for a lot of our friends and neighbors. That it has eternal significance. It doesn't just have American neighborhood significance. So those are the things that I am most frustrated with and have been forever.
Yeah.
I'll say it's something that's a little less spiritual, because I get that some people may be like, that sounds like a Sunday school answer.
Do you go to Sunday school anymore? People do that?
No.
It's a small group at someone's home.
It's a small group. Yeah, it's a Thursday night answer. I am continually frustrated with the amount of blind loyalty that exists in the tribes in our country. They're just blind. It seems to me that the virtue of the generation is loyalty, not virtue, not goodness, loyalty. We said it in the previous episode, we'll all jump off the cliff if we just agree that we're jumping off cliffs. And it is the virtue to jump off the cliff with everyone, because if you don't do it, you're wrong for not being connected to the right tribe and doing the right things. And I just see it all over the place, especially in our social and political spheres, where the reason we can't stand for what is true is because it will frustrate a relationship or go against some loyalty that we've
Some
pledged
group
to,
dynamic.
some tribal thing. And so we can't step away from Trump when he does something dumb because that feels like it's disloyal to the tribe. We can't step away from Biden or from the Democrats because it feels like you're stepping away from the tribe. And the number one virtue is to be loyal to the tribe. And I've said it to a friend of mine before. I was like, listen, loyalty is what creates racism. Loyalty is what creates division. That's when you decide, hey, I'm a Paul, and I'm just gonna be a Paul, be loyal to Paul. Paul's my boy. I'm not gonna let nobody take Paul's spot, right? I'm not gonna let nobody take Apollo's spot. Like this, the loyalty energy that is attached to the tribal energy that makes it difficult for you to see what is true and good. You choose the loyalty over what is true and good. That seems to be increasing measure, and that drives me a little nuts.
Yeah,
a lot nuts.
Okay, no, I'm with you. I think practically for me, what's hard, I think it should be, to your point, I think foundationally, we should be thinking about those made in the image of God in very agreeable ways. Like we should all be pulling for what is it that reminds us, right, that we are all made in the image of God. Like how do we treat those who are just human beings? And I think I'm thinking of the ways in which many people in terms of immigration have been described, right? And I can't help, and I've said it before on the show, like we have in Dallas, we have this, this museum, a human rights museum, where basically it's engaging the Holocaust and lots of other genocides and injustices that have been done through the world. And they have this room where you can go in there and you can see some of the genocides that have happened over and Holocausts that have happened over the last 150 years or something. And they literally break it down in a system of like, here are the things that you will see and hear when a genocide is going to happen, right? Dehumanization is like top of the list.
100%.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like it is the top of the list when you start giving names to humans that are about animals or insects or inanimate objects, garbage, things of that nature. Like that's how you are able to kill large amounts of people quickly and easily. That's the only reason. That's the only way you can actually even go to war, right? Like you have to put the enemy in a light of a dehumanizing way,
or
a demon, or you won't be able to pull that trigger because your conscience won't let you. Like you have to create it in such a way that this entity is not even human, so I can destroy them by pulling this trigger. And that's just not. And so all that to say is, like, I am constantly hearing that, and I'm hearing it in the places that have the most power to make it happen, right? And what I'm not hearing is pushback from those who understand the way that people have been made in the image of God. I'm not hearing it from them. I'm hearing cheers and screams and shouts of approval for that language.
Right.
I'm not hearing what I read and what I see on Sundays. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your enemies. But when your leader or Donald Trump says something like, I hate my enemies, like the Christians don't say anything about that. They allow that. That's probably one of the most disturbing moments, I think, this year to me
100%.
is, if you're thinking, if you take away the tragedy of Charlie Kirk, right, and you just take that service that was done there, right, these Christians coming together to worship God, to play music together, to cement their faith in God and the way that they think about their country. I'm giving really positive things in the midst of that environment. What's happening? And again, you got all these speeches that are coming up and saying whatever, but when you literally have the leader of the free world that says, in opposition to Jesus's words, says, I don't love my enemies, I hate them. And all of these Christians, these thousands, the biggest gathering of Christians for a worship service, and what and nobody says anything.
Not just say anything.
They cheer.
There's applause.
And
that's not the headline the next day for the Christian world.
I know.
We don't even touch that. And it's the second time he said that.
That's right. He said it before. So that's what's hard. Is like
turn the other cheek thing. I can't do it. I can't get in on
that. That's disturbing. And I'm watching other things. You know, I see a Christian podcaster going like, immigration is evil. I'm like, Jesus immigrated, right? Like, that pretty much everybody in this country is here because of immigration, other than those who were here already and those who were stolen from their lands and brought here. Like, I don't. And again, that we are so biblically and spiritually illiterate and undiscipled that we just get carried off in these platitudes and these headlines and these verbiages. And it's the boomers. Yes, it's Gen X, but we have not taught anything to the next generation. Now, I think there's hope coming, but honestly, people always like, when we do these things, people are like, the next generation, whatever. And I keep telling them, like, Charlottesville was real. It was young white men carrying torches saying Jews will not replace us. It's the next generation is not, we can't punt it to them. They're doing it as well. And I think it's for me, that's really hard. And Charlie Kirk's funeral was really difficult because he represented the leader of a younger group, and this younger group is the one who was all at this service and the one who was cheering for I'm gonna hate my enemies.
And what I like about what you're articulating is we're not talking about that. We've talked about Donald Trump a couple of times, and I realize that that's supposed to be scary to do, but what we've talked about today though is his own party critiquing him. We're not saying, hey, you know what I'm saying, like it's not like we're like, hey, Democrats, you guys gotta, we're not telling you to pick one, although, that's not necessarily what we're saying. What we are saying though is, if you're going to be behind Donald Trump and call yourself a Christian and be Christian, and he says something anti-Christian, you as a person, as a part of the party, gets to have the first say to your own guy to say, hey, wait a minute, is this what we're doing? Is this what we mean? Maybe we don't need to say that. And that's okay. And that's what I mean by the loyalty conversation. It's like, we're not talking about two different competing ideologies attacking each other. We're saying that those people who are believers, who would call themselves believers and live into that, and then start to step into political life and allow that to dictate, if they choose that party and that party starts to say things that are anti-Christian, that's the leader. It's totally okay for them to say, hey, we're not with him on that. There may be other things you are with him on, but we're not going to let you say, you can't get away with literally saying the opposite of what Jesus says, right? As the Christian people. And that was absent.
That's the point.
That was absent. It wasn't I'm not looking to the necessarily the Democrats, although I believe there's Christians there too, but I'm not looking to them to fix that. I'm saying the Republicans should have fixed that. The conservative Christian voice that calls themselves the faith party. The one who's advertised, who's branded themselves as the faith party. You're going to allow the leader to say. So my point is, I'm bringing it up to say, what we're saying is not particularly partisan. It is Christian.
Yes.
And it is saying, hey, Jesus is off limits as far as what his word says and what he says. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to disagree with him, we have a problem. And if that's your fundamental way of thinking, it wasn't a Freudian slip. Like, when you start looking at the way things have been executed, it matches. It does seem that he hates his enemies. It does seem, that he goes out like the action seems to follow that particular conviction. And that's not a very Christian conviction.
No, and it's so much different, I think, than the America that I love. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's hard too. I mean, obviously there's levels of patriotism, if you will. But I mean, I was born here. You know what I mean? Yes, my ancestors were dragged here, but I was born here. I've made my life here. My kids exist here. There's a way in which you want to live in the society that God puts you in that honors human life, right? And honors. Now, again, I I am growing less and less convinced, less and less married to the idea that this country would be a Christian nation, right? Like, what I mean by that is this idea that we would almost, in a kind of theocracy, like legislate all laws to benefit only those who are Christians. Like, I'm less interested, although obviously that would benefit me quite a bit. I'm less interested in that because what I'm more interested in is the opportunity to have people who aren't Christian in my spaces in ways that I can really listen and learn and love them well, without the legislation of that, right? So I want to, where most countries in the world live in a more pluralistic society, and particularly places where Christianity has grown, it's been actually a more pluralistic society where people can kind of engage cross culturally, engage even cross religiously. I think that there's just a really great value learning from others in the ways that they have seen God, even if I don't agree with it, right? Like, I think that there's just lots of really great learning I've experienced from being in cross-cultural ministry and engaging that way. And so I'm less interested in that. But the way that I think people who are interested in that are pursuing it is not helpful to not only the brand of Christianity, but it's not helpful to the American brand. I just don't think it's actually a place that creates a society that is healthy and sustainable.
Well, it does for one type of.
I don't even think that. I think that's what's like. I think
from
about
a social point of view.
Well, even that though, like, I think about it in terms of like this idea of polarities, where you have like these groups that you're trying to figure out how to deal with, or these two things that you're trying to deal with, and there's value to both in the polls, but there's also the shadow side of the polls, and what creates a lot of damage is when you start leaning and giving giving more attention to one over the other. What you do is you ultimately get the bad of the one you're giving all the attention to, and then eventually get the bad of the one you're not paying attention to, and you just end up with ridiculousness, if you will, a pile of it. It's a self-destructing type of move. It short term, it sounds really good. You're like, well, one group is going to benefit, but to have a group that's the only group going after stuff, it eventually starts to become toxic in and of itself, which we're actually seeing even a little bit of that in the last part of this year. I think after Charlie Kirk died, I think he was a figure that was translating things for people. And without his translation, I think the party, even on that side, has kind of started to fight amongst themselves a little bit. And you'll see that, right? Like, that's part of when you just concentrate on one thing over the other, the toxicity of that thing will eventually make its way. And so that's where I go again. Like, I think we've got to think more long-term than short-term wins. We got to think about our children and grandchildren, which I know people say, I'm trying to create a Christian country or they'll be safe. Yeah, but you're not thinking about like their opportunity to learn and engage with other people from across the world in the way God has engaged them. Like, that's not value. It's not, there's no benefit for that. That's not helpful.
Well, it's interesting what you were saying earlier, like this what Jesus was born into at Advent, right? So he's entering into a space in at least Israel, right, where the Pharisees and leaders there are doing just this. They're trying to collect the best of Israel. I'm going to use my language.
All right.
And they're moving the worst of Israel to the margins. And those worst are the lepers and the sinners and the poor, right? All those were supposed to be symbols of those for whom God was not with, right? And they felt like, man, in order for us to be the nation who God calls us to be, we've got to bring all of quote unquote God's people together to follow the law and to be devout about the law. And everyone who isn't interested in the law, we're going to move those to the margins as a testament, as an offering to God, as a national offering to God, to say, hey, look at what we're doing. We value you, not them, right? As though it was them or God, right? That they needed to choose in order to get this ultimate promise, the Davidic promise, to be fulfilled. And that's what's driving them. And Jesus enters the Advent.
Real quick, I hold on to that. But there's also, and you might be getting to this, right? Like, it's not just as an offering to God, but it's also as an offering to Caesar, right? Like, in a sense of we're going to present ourselves in such a way that we can be in good standing with the Roman Empire so that we can get the things that we want to get.
Yes, the
right?
social politics.
The social absolutely.
So that's hence Jesus has to be crucified, right?
Right.
So then you have all of that, and then Jesus comes in Advent, which is realized in Luke 4 when he begins to read from Isaiah, where he says that he's come for the oppressed and for the blind and for the to speak the gospel to the poor and everything else in this spirit, the scriptures going to be fulfilled in your ears. That's the Advent, right? That's the point. That's the period to the Advent in a way to say, hey, this is what I'm come to do. Here's what I'm advented to do, right? And he goes and he says, I'm actually going to the poor, to the people who you have pushed to the margins. And Advent is supposed to be, again, the hope, the gospel, the good news before it was that he rose up from the dead, right?
Yeah.
The good news before that, because he used the gospel before he died. He said that was the language he used. The gospel was that you get to be included. You are part of the nation. God has not left you behind. And that is the good news. In addition to the gospel, the good news is that those who are far from God can be brought near to God, and we're all the better for it. But the language that we're saying now, man, we're saying the Advent that the Christian nationalist is communicating is that those who are not us are going to be far from us, and that you are excluded, and that you are not a part of what God is doing. You are an enemy to God. You're a demon to God, and here we are with the demonization. And so the Advent. The Advent doesn't have the same punch because the messaging doesn't seem, we may hear it, but it feels like cotton candy to hear it in light of everything else that's happening around us. It feels unreal, feels impractical. It feels like, okay, well, this is just platitudes or rhetoric, right? Because it doesn't feel like it has any real bite to a world that has decided that that is not the ethic that it's going to live by. Not the world, though, a collection, a loud and powerful collection of Christians who said, Jesus, we're changing the definition of your Advent. You didn't come for the poor. You came for you came for the Pharisees. That's who we are. And so you came for us, and we're going to leave those other people completely out. And it just feels disconnected, in a way. For those of us who grew up, and again, I keep saying the Twilight Zone because it does feel like, it just feels like up is down and down is up.
Sure.
In a lot of ways. Anyway, but I thought there was a parallel to what you were saying with America locking people out. Some of these folks who want to push people to the margin or say you can't be here. Say we're going to be a Christian nation only if we can just get all Christians here.
Right.
And that's precisely what Advent was meant to combat.
Yeah. And what's ironic, I think, with the last phrase you just said, we just want Christians here. Somewhere between 48 and 53% of all people coming to this country from outside this country are actually Christians, right? They're just coming from a different country, and yet the national symbol that they carry, the skin tone that they carry, the facial features and whatnot, in many ways that already disqualifies people from true Christianity in some capacity, where they won't even assume that the folks are Christians. Like I think about people getting pulled from ICE, right? Like the Hispanic culture is deeply religious, right? Like particularly from a Catholicism standpoint, and obviously there's growth in evangelicalism that's going as well. But a lot of these folks have put their heart and their soul in connection to their family, to God. And here we watching as Christians are like, hey, but get them out because they're not Americans. And again, from an American standpoint, if you are seeing your identity as American, there's ways in which I understand where you're coming from. Not really, but I get it because there's a national identity you're trying to protect. I get that. But from a Christian standpoint, like we pledge allegiance first to our Christian identity before our national identity, right? And so that's the problem with all the football games, is that from a Christian, you keep getting indoctrinated to it. You just say the Pledge of Allegiance, or you just sing the national anthem, right? In all the schools, that's all you're doing. But Christians, we have not done, I think haven't discipled our people in ways that we show that we talk about that we don't combat the Pledge of Allegiance that kids say every single day with the pledge to God on a Sunday. Right, like we get caught up in our pithy, cute series about Advent and whatever, and or even as Christians, we get caught up in the season of Elf on the Shelf and Santa Claus. And again, I'm not
It's just that we don't make the meaningful connection.
We don't make the meaningful connection
Yeah.
for ourselves and for our next generation. And it's a discipleship and everybody's afraid to talk about it because they're like, it's not for the pulpit. It's dangerous to talk about. But the problem is, it's like, look, if you don't talk about it, somebody is talking about it. Like, you may not want to talk about it, but that lack of discipleship is not going to mean your people aren't going to be discipled somewhere, right? And so people are being discipled. They're just being discipled by the loudest voice on the internet. You know what I mean? And so we have an opportunity as the church to disciple differently. But I think, honestly, the issue is that we got leaders who have decided that they are going to pledge allegiance to the national aspect as opposed to Christianity, and that's a problem,
for sure.
And so I know we're kind of like,
yep,
you know. We're kind of like, all right, like just kind of a little womp womp on it. But so let's turn the corner a little bit, right? Because I think we do, because Advent is a season of hope. You're right; it's such a grungy season, and we say every year, it's like when we enter into Advent, we are connecting with the pain and the struggle and the fear and I would say a kind of hopelessness that those who didn't know about this Christ who is coming, right? We have hindsight to be like, hey, if we were to drop in on those folks, we'd be like, hey, don't worry, right? Like, Christ is coming. He's gonna break this, he's gonna do this, whatever, right? And so we stand in that, and we remind ourselves what that looks like, and we do it not only to think about it in the past tense, but also in our own tense of this second coming, right? Like, Maranatha, like, when is he coming, right? But in the meantime, like, it's like, but how do you like live in this space? And it's so interesting. We started this year when we got it at the very beginning. We just felt this heaviness in the people that we led, and we felt it in other organizations we were talking to. We kind of started thinking about, this is going to be a tough year, and so we started thinking about a kind of a framework that helps us be resilient in the midst of all the things that are going on. And so it starts with a recognition that we're sitting in ridiculousness. It starts with our concerns. Like, we got to lament, right? And there's spiritual disciplines that go along with this framework, right? Like, we've got to lament and deal with the concerns. It's obviously something we got to talk about. We got to get with other people, and we got to get that out, verbal ventilation, if you will, to get those things out. That's healthy, like, because we're hurting. And we're mad, and we're seeing ridiculousness.
And we get to acknowledge that.
We get to acknowledge that that's real pain, real fear, all those emotions are real. So we want to honor that. And at some point, though, like, you can't just sit in that, because that doesn't help your body. Like, somatically, it just doesn't create like really good feelings in your body. You got depression, you got indigestion, right? You can't sleep well. Like, it's just not healthy for your body to stay in that. So I think we think there's ways to get out of it. And first is to start to move from just your concerns to like curiosity, right? Like, starting to be curious about like what's going on here that I may not be seeing. Again, if we start with that idea of that everyone is a hero in their own story, like, get curious about what the heroic piece is of this from maybe somebody who's on the other side or in a situation that you're seeing. It's not to validate it. It's just to understand it, right? Like, be curious about it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's something that we've talked about in the midst of even our wage.
Understanding is an agreement, but it is a pathway to meaningful conversation and connection.
Right. Because I think if that is the pathway, like, or if that is the goal, I think if we don't head toward each other and we keep heading away, then we're just, inevitably we just rip ourselves apart. Now, if that's the goal, then, sit on your concerns and hold on to it. But if you're like, I want to see a molding together, I want to see, dare I say, a reconciling of ideas, a unity, not uniformity, and not even fully agreement, but even a space where disagreements can be held with honor. Like, if you want to create that space, then you've got to move from a concern into a curiosity to just to even, woo somebody into a conversation with you about your own ideas. You need to be curious about theirs, right? And then from that, you got your concerns, you got your curiosity. And I think as you get curious about other people and you start to hear where they're coming from, because again, I think most people are not demons. maybe I'll just say all people aren't demons. I'm gonna just go ahead and say
by definition.
By definition, they're not demons. So there's something beautiful that is in them, some way that God has poured into their lives.
I mean, if we believe that Jesus died for every person,
come on,
then they can't be.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I'm not sure everybody does believe that. So thank you for doing that. Yes, that is a great way. If we
do.
Yes, if we believe that Jesus has died for everyone, then everyone is worth your curiosity. And from curiosity, as you learn, you find that you might actually reach compassion for people, right? Even if the compassion is, man, I hate watching them have to live a life where they are so out of connection with the beauty and love of God, in the way that they think about things. Like, that compassion is a hard one to do, but sometimes it's like, man, I really feel bad that they have an idea that is going to keep them from actually experiencing the beauty of the diversity of this country, or the beauty of relationships that will actually help them. I feel bad. I am walking alongside them in compassion, right? And so concerns to curiosity, compassion, and then really the last thing that we've got to figure out how to do if we're going to survive in the midst of this is we got to learn how to celebrate what is happening that is good. It's from the smallest to the largest thing. Like, we've got to find a way to get to a kind of celebration, even if at Advent the celebration is that we do have a Savior that came at some point. And it feels so like Christian-y to say all that, but these kinds of things, although they may be Christian-y, doesn't mean they're not true. It doesn't mean that they're not actually helpful things for humans to experience, and frameworks for people to go through, so that they can actually live fully into their own lives. And so that's what we think is good. And I think there's lots of spiritual things that go.
It's called the Resilience Roundtable. It's something that you can pick up from our website if there's something you want to go through and work out with a group of people. Man, it's we've had some people engage with that this year, and we've been really blessed to know that it's been an encouraging resource to those persons. And so if you're experiencing that, and you feel yourself leaning toward hopelessness, and instead of leaning toward hope, you're feeling tired, fatigued, you're feeling disconnected. Like, this is an opportunity to acknowledge that. It's the process, like Markus said, is to be able to acknowledge that, but then to be able to call us into a path or process gently that leads to more resilience.
And the resilience is not even just in that 4-part framework. Like, part of what we do is we try to help people think about what are some of the spiritual disciplines that you can practice, right? Because that's the thing that you're going to need throughout, and you may not need them all at once or all in a very linear fashion, but you're going to need them, right? Lament is a spiritual discipline that's got to be engaged in the midst of this time. Worship, like, I've had a tough year, and I found myself, even in the midst of my darkest moments and times, when I worship, like, it just did something for my soul. You know what I mean? Not just worship musically, but just even worship and saying how beautiful and amazing God is, and reminding myself of that. That worship is just a spiritual discipline. I need prayer, right? It can be easy to just kind of lock yourself into your own mental musings and thinking about stuff, but prayer is talking to God in a relationship of back and forth and listening through even the reading of scripture, allowing your prayers to be scripture. Man, I was praying the Lord's Prayer the other day, and it hit me in ways that it had hit me
different way.
Man, and I'm telling you, I'm not young.
Right.
I've said the Lord's Prayer
You're not
multiple thousands of times, and I was literally on the treadmill, and it started to come out, and I was like, I have not thought about it like that before, right? And so that prayer is so important. Just practicing confession and forgiveness, right? Like,
probably the hardest thing.
These are tough. These are really tough. And,
Yeah.
If you've had a tough year, and if you've been hurt by people, and if you've done the hurting, right, the humility to come forward and say, man, I've hurt you, and confess and start the repentance, bro, that's tough stuff.
That's stuff, man.
Big spiritual stuff.
It's just ways to connect what the gospel says, what the Bible says, to real life.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the disgusting part, or that disgusting thing you feel in your mouth when people sometimes say Christian things that make you roll your eyes. It's because there's not a connection to what they've said to real life. And we've not done a good job as the church at large. I don't know that we've done a really great job at connecting discipleship principles to real life, beyond rhetoric and feel good. beyond Hallmark sentiment, where it sounds like what the tribe would say, and so we agree, not because it's actually meaningful to our lives. We go to something else for something we want to be really meaningful and practical, and it's one of the things I think I lament. I said before, I think America's in it's almost like we're in an exam for discipleship, and we keep failing. Like he keeps giving us opportunity. Here was COVID, here was Black Lives Matter, here's this, and we keep leaning toward our flesh instead of toward the spirit in our responses, calling it the spirit the whole time. And it should, for leaders, it should let us know, man, we have got a lot of work to do. Where the pressure shows up, what does it look like to truly step into the discipleship pathway that Christ has led for us? I'll say this last thing, and I know we're about to finish up. And I wonder sometimes if we're just in an exile type of season. I'm not quite ready to say
exile?
An exile type of season. Yeah. Where the hope that we may be having is like, Lord, fix it. And he may be like, I'm actually not fixing it. This is the exile. You guys are in timeout. And the beauty of that in Jeremiah, of course, is that he sent a prophet to tell them that. He's like, hey, I'm just going to let you know for the next 70 years, you guys are going to be in exile. It's not going to be the way it's supposed to be. It's going to be really wild. Get comfortable. Go ahead and do your things. Live as I'm calling you to live in the process of it. But it's not going to get better. But trust me, I have a plan for you, plans to prosper. And that's where we're at 29:11. And then Jeremiah writes the whole, Jeremiah and others are writing Lamentations, the book Lamentations, in response to the fact that they're in this exile that God has appointed for them. And I wonder if some of that has to do with us in our space now, where I'm not ready to say that we're in an exile with any like certainty, but it certainly has all the exile elements of a Nebuchadnezzar who comes in and subjugates God's people, the true remnant of God's people, to a lesser voice. And it's potential that there may be some hope and some resilience for you reading through Lamentations and Jeremiah and considering the contrast and similarities in our situations.
And I think that's really wonderful to say, reminding ourselves, because we are Americans, many of us, right? Which means we've always been the home team. We haven't had to build a resilience in this kind of way. We haven't had to think about being the exile, but what does it look like to be the exile? People are like, I just don't have a safe space. I was like, maybe you're not supposed to. And most people across the world, particularly Christians, don't have a safe space either, right? Like maybe this is the part of Christianity that we, the Christians in this country, lacked, but that we desperately needed, right? In the sense of how to know God even more so. Because honestly, there have been seasons throughout the Christian existence and humanity where people haven't had any. They haven't had any hope. I mean, you talking about Jeremiah? At least he came and said, "Hey, this can be over in 70 years." Like,
I know, right? That was the benefit.
Yeah,
of
right,
Jeremiah,
exactly, right. But you go to the end of Genesis, right, where all of a sudden the Israelites are enslaved. It was 400 years.
Yeah,
right. Look, and Antwuan and I represent a whole group of people who came here or was brought here and woke up every single day without the hope that they were going to be freed from their peril and slavery. They worked all day, every day, their whole life, born into it, and died. There were children who were born in and died, and every day had to have that same, this is not a safe place for me. And yet, the strongest expression, I would say, of Christianity that this country has ever seen came out of those people. And I would say it was what reset, and maybe even, if I can say it as bluntly as it rescued Christianity in America, to the point that we even have any remnant at all still here. And that's disturbing. And yet it challenges me every day when I look in the mirror and I go, there are people who came way before me who had to do with much worse for me to even get to this point that I get to experience this bit of suffering. And so resilience becomes the place. And what are the spiritual and I agree with you. Like, it feels weird to say a practice of spiritual disciplines can help it out, but there's a reason they're called spiritual disciplines. There's something otherworldly that we're connecting in. And there's something supernatural that actually does the work of building resilience,
that
Right.
God has left for us to do.
Yeah.
And so that's an opportunity. So look, if you're an individual, if you're a leader, individual, whatever, like we've created this sort of small group engagement called Resilience Roundtables. You can go to Amazon and look it up, Resilience Roundtable. You can put my name in there and you'll probably find it. It's a great thing that it's got a participants guide. It's got a facilitators guide. We've seen people who just pick it up, do it with their friends, do it in their church, do it in their neighborhood. It's just a great way to kind of start to build resilience for what's coming forward. And once you're finished with it, honestly, those spiritual disciplines keep coming back. And we've had people say, I go back to that every now and then and just remind myself of this framework so that I can get through the next day. So yeah, check that out. We'd love for that to be that tool to be and resource to be super helpful as we head into our new season. And as we even experience Advent. If you're looking for something to do for Advent, right? You've got a couple of weeks left here. Like you can pick it up and try it out. So look, I know it's been, again, kind of a Debbie Downer type of thing, but I want us to remind ourselves, like, Advent is a messy and always has been a messy season that's supposed to be about leading to hope. And what we've seen historically is that we do have a God that comes to our rescue.
Yeah.
And
the Advent scene stinks probably.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of animals in the trough.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's a smelly place. But we stand on
Messy.
He had told that group that he was going to come as their Messiah. He did. And then when he left, he said, I'm gonna come again. So if he came once, he's gonna come again. So we have the hope to look forward to. Even though we may not experience it, we move forward with that hope in our minds, and we love and we represent him so that more people will know that hope as we go into this beautiful Christmas season. Anything else as we kind of wrap up?
No, I think that's it, man. I'm hopefully you're, I don't know, encouraged, not just encouraged again, and not in a superficial way, man.
No.
I really want
like a deep.
I really want for I'm hoping that there's some authentic.
Yeah.
That, man, this is what holds us together.
Yeah. This is what keeps us moving, keeps us resilient. And it's so my color commentary family, we love you out there. We know 25 was a crazy year. 26 is coming. We're not going to make any promises. We're talking about resilience. Instead of promises, we want to give you tools to be ready for what's coming. And not just for you, it's for us too. We're in this with you. We're going to be here on the mic, constantly coming in, being about the different conversations, sometimes more colorful, sometimes less colorful than this. Really looking at what Christianity, culture, and race has to look like. We are committed to doing that for you. And we hope that you'll join us, continue to come back, bring your friends, tell folks about it. And let us know, give us a shout on this YouTube, give us some comments that we can take with us to know what you need as you go forward in this. And of course, as you know, as we move into the Christmas season, the Advent, and we say Merry Christmas, remember as you go and pick up all your presents and all of your gifts that you stay colored.